Yo, what's good, you man? It's Terrell, just Terrell. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. The situation of the world in general is just a bit wild right now. There's a lot of stuff going on in all corners of the globe, and I kind of wanted to use this as an opportunity to talk about why I did what I did, why I'm here, why I decided to make such a drastic change in my life, and why it was the best decision that I've made for not just myself, but for my future and my family's future as well. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, if you're used to seeing my content, you know that this is mad different. I'm usually high energy and we're fighting, we're training, we're doing this, we're doing that. But today I want to get a bit real. I want to open up about my journey a little bit more, and hopefully I can inspire a couple of you guys and make sure that you feel heard. Do you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of us out here feel like we're just not being heard, you know? So let's get into it. So I'm going to be breaking down this video into 3 separate sections. The first section is going to be my unfiltered story from about 2016 until now. The second section will be the broken social contracts. The broken social contracts that society had promised us that just weren't fulfilled, and is a reason why I was and many other people are a bit mad. And the last section, instead of keeping it all doom and gloom and miserable, some actionable steps that I took for the young people coming up to ensure that they're set up and they're patterned for this uncertain future that we have in store for us. So let me set the scene a little bit. My name is Terrell from the UK. Essex boy, born and raised, 29 years old, living in Thailand. I moved from Essex to Sheffield for university, and I was in university from around 2013 to about 2018. And I studied computer science for games specifically. I've always been a nerd, always loved video games, and I'd always want to be a part of that creative process. So computer science for games was a perfect course for me, and that's what I studied when I was at Sheffield Hallam. And yeah, like I said, I was super nerdy, love my computer science. In addition to that, competitive dancer, b-boy. You've probably seen all the madness that's been going on with the Olympics breaking, but yes, that's my scene, that's my community. I'm a proud b-boy, breaking for about 14 years now, and done a lot, bruv. Like, this breaking's really given me a lot and really helped me develop as a man. And to really set the scene, when I take you back to the year in which this story is gonna start, where I was in my life, I was just trying to truly find my place in this world. You know what I'm saying? Like, experimenting with a lot of things, starting to get into content creation a little bit, and just finished my placement year at university, you know, just finished my 3rd year. So was pretty much like looking forward to becoming a real man and getting out into the workforce and making some money, you know? So let's take it back. So I got with a sick tight click and went all out. The year is 2016, my 3rd year of university. Like I said, studying computer science. I think I'm just finishing up or deep in my placement year at uni. So I'm really starting to understand what it is to really live alone. I've lived alone for the past 3 years. It's finally working, you know what I'm saying? I was placement year, so it wasn't, you know, I wasn't getting paid like an actual full-time employee, but I was still working like I was one, getting up every day, going into the office, this, that, and the third, you know? And this was the time on which Brexit was hot topic in the UK. And during this time, I felt a shift in the culture back home. There was a lot of the same talks that are going on now about immigration and about getting the country back and stuff like that, you know? And these were things and talking points which I'd usually ignore, whatever. But for the first time, I just felt a shift in the energy of the country, you know what I'm saying? And I felt the first kind of inkling of, I'm not really sure I like where this is going, so I feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I need to be prepared for what's coming up. But I didn't really take it too seriously like that, you know what I'm saying? I was getting on with my day-to-day life. I I felt very privileged in my position. I was being able to make money. I was living in Bristol at the time, very nice area. Do you know what I'm saying? And just doing my thing and growing my skills, being able to dance every weekend, competing every month. Like things were like, okay, cool, you know, I'm doing my thing. Was really feeling the pinch, you know, as you know, the UK is expensive. So cost of living, hey, it was a bit rough, but you know, mum was doing it. You know, I felt, you know, optimistic about the future. But all in all, I say I was happy. You know what I'm saying? I was happy and I was satisfied with where I was in my life, with the country as a whole, with my future. Like, I felt really comfortable as my position as a young British man, you know, growing up in Britain. Felt very proud and enjoyed, and I felt really positive about my future as a software engineer. Alright, so say nothing. Let's fast forward a couple of years. The year is now 2018. I'm in my final year of university, about to graduate and join the workforce. So it's going to be the first time I'm going to be outside of education, living life fully as a grown young man. And this is where I start to feel the effects of the decisions that were made a couple of years ago. For example, the cost of living had definitely gone up a bit, and I know that when I'd graduate, I wouldn't be getting a job earning too much money. So I wanted to move away from London, stay up in Sheffield, not really go back. As you know, the cost of living, quality of life, it's not really too balanced and too fair. In addition, I had my side hustle. I built my own software company, Whoosh, a competition management system. It was a project that was really close to my heart, something I was very, very passionate about, and something that I saw myself achieving financial freedom if I continued working on and building it. But one thing I did really start to notice from my decision of leaving the EU was that a lot of the funding that young entrepreneurs and students would be getting was EU funding. And because we'd left, we'd lost a lot of access to that funding. This stuff wasn't really too detrimental, kept my head down still and focused. I was really locked in and focused on stacking bread and just getting a good job. Boom, the virus. Fast forward a couple of years, I've been in full-time work for about a year and a half as a software engineer, really getting into the flow of things, understanding what it means to be an adult in the UK. And it's not easy, you know what I'm saying? The work is hard, the hours are long. I have to remain super disciplined to be able to keep doing the things that I like doing, i.e. breaking, staying fit, staying healthy, seeing my friends, all that good stuff. But then the big pandemic hit and things changed drastically. You see, this is where I saw the biggest shift in my quality of living. Minus the obvious that it was lockdown, we understand that there's a big pandemic, all that good stuff, whatever. But it was more in which the way that the government made decisions. I felt as if I was going backwards, as if I was losing my personal freedoms, not being able to see people that I want to see, do things that I want to do, being scared and honestly being anxious about doing like pretty normal things, like going out to the Peak District or staying around your friend's house. These things we just weren't allowed to do anymore. And because of this as well, I couldn't travel internationally anymore. And when these things start to get taken away from you, when you're not allowed to do it versus you don't want to do it, you really want to do it that much more. So I was speaking to a lot of my international friends at the time and seeing how they were coping during this period, and just genuinely seeing how a lot of different countries treated the situation. And I felt, I don't really like how my country is handling things. I'm not enjoying living here at this point, at this moment. But whatever, I stayed focused, I kept on my grind, I tried to not let it affect me and my day-to-day life as much as possible. I was heavily on my business arc. I got a business partner at the time. We were expanding, growing, developing. I was advancing through my career, and I had that mad arc with the investor fucking me over, me losing loads of money, losing my business partner, all that sort of stuff. So I had my own challenges and my own difficulties. I made a lot of money, I lost a lot of money. I was humbled, I grew, I came back, and I started to develop a lot more internal strength and internal confidence. Now, the year is 2022. COVID is finally finished, and I am itching and scratching to get out of this country. Really looking forward to going back to traveling again, competing, bouncing around. I jumped through all the hoops that the government made us jump through to ensure that I could do this without any problems. And I was back on my grind. I got a new job at the time. I was traveling every month, competing, dancing. And this is the period where my eyes started to open. The veil was lifted off of my eyes. The cost of living at this point was fucking diabolical. It wasn't a joke. It was noticeably more expensive. I remember when I was in France, this was maybe April in 2022, I was doing a competition near Sweden, like in the Alps in France, right? We traveled to this beautiful location in the mountains where we're going to be competing. I remember getting an email from Eon, and whenever you get an email from your electricity or your gas or whatever providers, you know it's not going to be good. Usually they're going to be asking for more money. It was at that period where the gas and electric prices shot up diabolically. As a single young man living alone in the middle of spring, wasn't really that cold. If it was too cold, I'll put on a coat, so I wasn't using the heating too tough. Tell me how my gas and electric bill was over £250. Bearing in mind, that's just gas and electrics. That's not including water. That's not including other utilities. That's not including my mortgage and all the other stuff that I have to pay. And it was at those times I started to just feel angry. I felt angry. I felt lied to. I felt disrespected. Why is it as I'm pushing more and I'm working harder and I'm doing all the things that I should be and I'm earning more money, why is the cost of living going up? I'm saying it's kind of making it pointless that I earn more and things become more expensive. Things become a lot harder and more difficult to do. And in tandem, as I was traveling around and seeing the beauty of all these different countries, from France to Italy to Cyprus to the Netherlands, I was seeing how all these other countries operated and how much cheaper it was for me to live a much better life. As I started to travel more, I started to use my ability to work remote to start working abroad. And as I started to work abroad, I started to spend more time with these different communities. I started to see and notice how much community is lacking back home. In my communities, with the people that I've known for years and years, we're seeing how the stress and the pressure of society is actually affecting everyone in a negative manner. It's getting harder for people to do things and people don't really want to do stuff no more. And as that year went on and I continued to travel and I continued to do things, I started to see a lot more. And I couldn't hold it anymore. I couldn't keep lying. I couldn't keep pretending like everything is okay when it fucking isn't. And I crashed out. So I guess you could say it was a perfect storm. Everything seemed to happen at once, at the same time. Let me kind of break it down as to why I crashed out in the first place. There was a big conflict between how I felt about myself on the inside and how my life reflected how I was on the outside. For example, at the time I was practicing a lot of spirituality, meditating every day, affirmations. I was practicing celibacy, truly removing all distractions from my life so I can focus internally on myself. In addition, I was making the most money I'd ever made at that point. My breaking training was going really well, was feeling very strong, was training for the Olympics, and honestly, I really believed that I had a shot at it. As time went on throughout the year and I was traveling more and more, my eyes were just opening. I started to realize that the way of life that I've been accustomed to back home in the UK is not the only way to live. And really and truly, I felt lied to. I felt lied to because I was struggling and suffering for so long, struggling and suffering for something which I didn't even want in the first place. I worked so hard and I was making the most money I'd ever made in my life. But the thing is, I had money and I didn't have anything else. I didn't have respect for my community, respect for my peers. I didn't like my environment, and my environment clearly didn't like me. And the final straw was a family tragedy. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but something really significant happened in my family and it made me just not give a fuck anymore. And this is when things started to spiral really negatively. Initially, I started to rebel against my family, but as time went on, it was really clear that my community wasn't there for me. The sense of community that we have back home is farce. Everything is good when everything is good, but when things get real, you really see who's there for you and who is not. And during that time, my circle got smaller as I got more real, as I got more honest with how I felt about myself. But this started to lead down a very dark path. I started to have thoughts that I couldn't even imagine would come from me. During this period, my mental health was deteriorating and my environment was just feeding the flame. Dancing wasn't cutting it anymore. I was getting angry. I felt the violence bubbling within me and I needed a positive outlet before I destroyed my life. Dancing just wasn't cutting it anymore, and that's when I found Muay Thai. I went to a couple of sessions and I fell in love, but still, my environment was not supporting me. Yet after just training for 1 week, the pressure was just getting too much and I had to make a decision. And I left.
Music is a universal language. You play some music, you might be able to connect, because this is the language of the universe.
The last 1.5 years have been a fucking movie. During the peak of my crash out is when you guys met me, when I gave up everything to train Muay Thai in Thailand. I needed a change in my life, something drastic. a new purpose, a new focus, a new identity. And as you see, the antics that I've been up to have been freaking wild. I've truly been living, and you man wouldn't even believe the madness that happens off camera. Fights, in and out the ring, relationships, I've been in hospital, crazy spiritual experiences. Hey yo, if I was to sit down and explain to you all the stuff that I've been through over this past 1.5 years, I'd spend more time trying to convince you, man, that I'm not lying than actually telling you what I've been up to. And this in and of itself has proven to me that we've been lied to about life. We've been lied to about the purpose of life, how to live, the rules and the frameworks that we must follow. It's all bullshit. There's not just one way to think or one way to do things. Let's put it this way. I am the brokest I've ever been in my life, even broker than I was when I was a student. Yet I've achieved the most things and lived the most crazy experiences at the same time. But I'm broke. Does that make me a loser? Does that make me a bum?
I want my shit to sound like it's recorded on the moon or something. Not like at a big studio. I want to prove that you can make good records without spending a lot of money or something.
Yo, so the first major lie that I feel that we're told coming up is money. Since crypto popped off, we've collectively had this gross relationship with money. We don't care how the money is made, just the raw accumulation of it. In addition, promoting stupid spending habits to stunt to people who you don't care about and who also don't give a fuck about you. I've made money and told no one, and in their eyes I was still broke, and as a result they treated me accordingly. Instead of judging people on their character, we judge people based on how much bread they have. But once again, we don't give a fuck about how they make the money, just how much that they have. It's gross, bruv, it's gross. When I was in the thick of it and I was making my money, it wasn't enough. No matter how much I made, I always wanted to make more. I never felt like I'd achieved my goal of financial freedom. Instead of looking around and appreciating the work that I've done, what I'd achieved, what I'm able to do with this, I just kept my head down and kept going. It's not enough. I need to make more. They won't respect me if I don't have enough. In addition, society is taking advantage of this gross relationship that we have with money. Hey yo, what the fuck is the cost of living? Living here in Thailand has really showed me the absolutely artificially inflated cost of living that it is back home in the West. We shouldn't be paying £3 sterling for a bottle of juice. That's extortion. So imagine we have this gross relationship with money, exorbitant costs of living, and to top it off, we tie people's personal value to how much bread that they make. And this is something that I found is the biggest lie of them all. The amount of money that you have is not in any way, shape or form connected to your personal value. These two things are mutually exclusive. Remember what I said before, right now I'm the brokest that I've ever been. I've literally been living in the hut for the past 2 years. And look at the impact that I've had, the amount of people that I've inspired. I went from feeling like nobody, and I really truly mean nobody giving a fuck about me, to literally thousands of you in my corner, backing me and supporting my journey, which I'm crazy grateful for. Society makes you feel helpless when you don't have money, and it's just not the case. Skills are key. If you can do things, valuable things, you can survive anything. You've got to keep learning, you've got to keep acquiring skills. If I didn't spend my 20s spending all the money that I made on myself, learning how to code, learning how to make videos, learning how to start businesses, making money with businesses, losing money with businesses, I would no way have been able to survive out here for so long. If you want to increase your value, increase the value that you provide to society, to your communities. And the only way that you can provide value is to be of service. Learn how to do hard things and help your community with that. So the second thing that we've been lied to about is relationships and community. First things first, let's start with relationships. What the fuck is going on? Like, big man thing. Men and women, we just don't get along. We don't trust each other, we can't work together. Marriages are basically at like 50% divorce rate. We have no more sense of community. Our relationships are so shallow. Interpersonal relationships in general. Back home, we're depressed, we're miserable, we're fighting, we're complaining. Everybody's shouting, everybody's got demands, but nobody's listening to each other. It's super hard to find genuine, real connections with people. People that you can really trust. Trust with your life, trust with your money, trust with whatever. And now with this added immigration shit, the division just continues. We're basically in reverse world. If you're real and you're authentic, you're persecuted. But being fake and inauthentic is rewarded. Nah, for me, this shit is clown world. And as I moved out here to Thailand, it's really proven that. I'm on this small island with thousands of people from all over the world together, and it's a community. We don't care about race, we don't care about where you're from. We care about your impact in the community, how you're helping one another. For the first time in my life, I feel belonging. If I left, I genuinely feel like it will have an effect on the community, which is something I've never felt before. Before in my life, back home in the West, I truly felt that if I left or something happened to me, nobody would give a fuck. And really and truly, I was proven right with that. I couldn't be fake. I couldn't be inauthentic. And I used to think there was something wrong with me. But now I've come to realize that, hey, maybe I just spawned in the wrong server. If your environment is not supporting your beliefs, then leave. We need to start working on bringing each other up rather than tearing each other down. The most important place that I feel that we've been lied to is within our social contracts. They have not been fulfilled, but not on our end. We filled our end of the bargain, but society has not given back what we have expected. So, what have we been told to do? Go to school, get your education, go to university, get in mountains of debt, stay off the streets, don't chase fast money, be an upstanding member of society, work hard and you will be rewarded. You'll be successful and you'll be happy. Now let's be real now, is that the case? Well, no. The housing market is fucked, completely unaffordable. Like imagine, having a house now as a young adult is a flex. A flex. It's not a Lamborghini. It's a fucking house. Yet it's impossible for the average household or the average income to get an average house. In addition to that, the cost of living is fucked. Everything's expensive. You feel like every time you step out your house, you're getting raped with no Vaseline. Even when I was single and earning a lot, I really felt like it was impossible for me to take on extra responsibilities. I think this is a big contributor as to why not many of us are looking to have kids. We can barely take care of ourselves, let alone adding another human being to the mix. The job market. So for me, as a software engineer, I am privileged. I'm privileged in the fact that my skill spans across pretty much all industries and software engineers are always in demand. And even still, as a university, bachelor's and master's degrees graduate with almost 10 years of experience, I am finding it difficult to find a job. It's insane that something so essential to our way of life, to living, is so difficult to achieve. Now forget all of that and let's step outside the house. It's not safe. Society is not safe. There's rampant crime. There's predators everywhere. I'm scared about the younger generation. I've got youngers in my family who I'm worried about getting caught up in gangs. I need to ensure that I show a better example of how to live life because society is not doing that for us. More time is pushing us further and further into degeneracy. And lastly, I don't know about your countries, but in mine, everything is just falling apart. There's no facilities for the community. I remember as a young gun coming up, wanting to break, wanting to compete. I had to genuinely fight to find a consistent space to practice my dancing. Either the venues were ridiculously overpriced, or just traveling to and from these places, especially within London, was just stupid long. So, what can you do about this? This isn't some doomcore video. I'm not going to leave you all high and dry. Remember what I said. There's not just one way to live life. Even if society makes you feel like there is. Travel. Soften your heart to open your mind. You need to see a fresh view, a fresh perspective, a fresh way to look at life and to overcome your challenges. When you're exposed to other cultures, other ways of living, other ways of thinking, it can really put you and yours into perspective and realize how privileged you are. It can really help provide previously unknown ways to achieve your goals. If your environment doesn't support you, respect you, love you, cherish you, whatever, leave. The next tip I'm going to give you guys is to upskill. Life is a game, and if you keep leveling up, you get more options. You get to access different levels. You get to see things from a perspective which was never accessible to you before. When I first landed in Thailand, crashing out, I had options. Making a YouTube channel actually wasn't the first thing I wanted to do. I was going to create another software company, a mobile app. In addition to that, I could get a job again as a software engineer. I could start teaching dancing, but all in all, I chose to make a YouTube channel because I knew how to edit videos. I heard this quote a long time ago, the more you learn, the more you earn. And trust me, that's nothing but the truth. The next tip I'm going to give you is to disregard comfort. If something makes you uncomfortable, as long as it's morally right, you should do it. Big man ting, comfort breeds weakness. Whenever you feel that things are too easy, that means you need change in your life. I decided to take the leap from being a competitive dancer to competing in Muay Thai. And honestly, let me tell you, I remember my first fight when I was getting my hands wrapped, waiting to go on that stage. One of the fighters, the fight before me, actually got his arm broken mid-fight. He took a high kick and didn't block properly. And I remember him being carried past me, him groaning, you smell the sweat and the blood in the air, and thinking to myself, what the fuck am I doing? I'm a software engineer and a dancer. Why am I here? But that discomfort didn't deter me. More time, it made me realize that I have to be here and I have to overcome this. And boom, 9 fights later, I'm about to jump into my 11th one. And the last tip that I'd like to give you guys is to take on a spiritual practice. Honestly, I don't really care what it is that you follow, but you need to follow something greater than yourself. You should strive and work your hardest to live a pure life, following the golden rule, a rule that's apparent across all religions. Do unto others as which you want unto yourself. Basically, treat others with respect. Be considerate. Reject degeneracy. Stop jacking off. Stop watching porn. Put your head down. Lock in. And most importantly, you've got to try. If you don't try, the answer will always be no. Honestly, following those tips have kept me sane and guided me through my darkest days. Honestly, I was so scared. I was so uncertain. And that's where I see the beauty of life. So I think it's time for you to make a change. Peace.
But all that being said and done, Gabriel done goofed, basically, yeah? Because he was like, oh, let me book a double room. And then he assumed that it would have 2 single beds. But surprise, surprise.
I thought double meant 2 beds. Alright. Bro, leave me.
But no, it's a double bed.
You sleep in the bathroom for me,
Man, shut the fuck up.
You the unplugged player, 2 controller on Nintendo. I punch rappers through donut shop windows. Lingo is lethal, language is liquid. Sword so precise they could stitch up your fitted. Little bit back, I was stuck
Obviously,
in that
most
hill.
days, you've got to get some food first. Yeah, you can't start a day without food.
Wouldn't dummy, couldn't take nothing from me. Busted up knuckles wouldn't make him start bugging. Running games.
So right now, we're going to go eat in a Korean restaurant. Find time one. My guy, what's up?
What's your name?
My name? Oh, name is Star.
Star. Yeah. Hey, Star. Yes.
Insomniac, who else making beats that ill and kicking verbs? Only weakness is chunks of rock from my home world. Words on a square sheet express the diameter. On my bears beats, Battlestar Galactica, canisters of Kryla.
Obviously, you might want to get that llsack flavour. You get a llsack for when you ask him. So, do you have a llsack noodle flavour?
Epiphany.
Ah, I see. No llsack there, huh?